Hey, what's up? It's Steve, aka the Sign Picker, and it's that time of the year again. It's warm, it's summer. In Indiana, that means construction season. Today, I'm going to be going through my entire collection, pulling out construction signs, and updating my sign wall. I say this every single time that I update my sign wall. I come up with a theme and then I think, gosh, I'm not going to have enough signs to even fill the wall. And my construction signs are no different. The reason I say that is just because I'm pretty sure that I don't have a whole lot of construction signs, and some of the construction signs that I do have are going to be too large to fit on the wall. But there's only one way to find out. Let's start digging and see what we can find. I'm going to start up here. I'm loving my new sign shelves, by the way. If you haven't seen that video of me updating my old shelving unit to this new Gladiator unit, make sure you check out my previous video. Now, I'm going to be looking for anything that is road construction. Typically, these are going to be orange signs with black lettering or black iconography. Most of the signs that I have are aluminum signs or steel signs from a long time ago. A lot of construction companies now use like pressboard signs. A lot of the cities, highways, municipalities will contract out their construction work, and in turn, the signage is also contracted out. The signs, the barricades, the flashing arrows, the cones, and a lot of those signs are moved from location to location, so they get really beat up, banged up, scraped up, broken. And because of that, they are made typically with pressed board. Most of what I have is metal or steel. So I know I don't have a whole lot of pressboard signs. I know I have a high water sign, but that's not construction. So be interesting to see what I can find. I'm going to start here with these 18 by 24 signs. All right, nothing in that pile. All right, first construction sign. This is new old stock, meaning it has not been mounted anywhere. Typically a sign that's been mounted out in the wild is going to have some indication of where it was posted on the steel post or on the barricade. It would have some weather marks and things like that. Also, the holes where you push the bolts through have not been punched through. So new old stock on that, pretty neat. Okay, here's an orange rough road ahead sign. You can see this one has been out in the wild, as indicated by the markings on the back. Should be a neat one up on the wall. I remember I had this one hanging up in my college dorm room, which was kind of interesting because that sort of symbolized a rough road ahead, which it wasn't, but cool sign. Okay, here is a diamond yellow road closed sign on some really heavy steel, which is interesting for a couple of reasons. It kind of has a really rough reflective surface, which is indicative of a sign that came from probably the 60s or so. It's got a yellow background as well. But what's interesting about this sign is that construction signs moved to being orange in the 1971 Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. So typically anything you see that's construction related that is still yellow background is going to be prior to 1971. The other interesting thing about this sign is typically when you see a road closed sign, it's going to be black letters on a white background on a rectangular shape. So this one being diamond shaped, black on yellow, not orange, tells me that it came from somewhere before 1970, 1971. But I love this sign just because of the weight, because it's a little different than what you normally see for a road closed sign, because of the background. Awesome. Here's a sign that came out of Hammond, Indiana, which is in the northwest corner of the state. Sorry to inconvenience you, sign of progress. So this was posted outside of some kind of a public works construction project. I always love the messaging on this sign. Typically, you don't have signs apologizing for something, certainly not as specific as sorry to inconvenience you. It's really neat because it's got the mayor's name on it, the mayor of Hammond at the time. It's embossed, it's heavy, black on yellow, pretty awesome sign. I found this at an antique store for about 25 bucks. Okay, again, we have a black on yellow detour sign, when typically a construction sign made after 1971 is going to be black on orange. So just based on the fact that this one is heavy and embossed in steel. That tells me that this probably came from, the 50s or before. If this sign was made today, it would be rectangular, like the one I pulled out earlier with the bicycle on it, or it would be a longer rectangle with an arrow that says detour in it, with the arrow indicating which way the detour is. I'm assuming this sign, when posted, had an arrow underneath it or somewhere along the sides if it was on a barricade. This was found in somebody's basement. So this one's interesting because this sign was probably made before 1971, which is when orange was the new definition of construction signs. But of course it is orange. So who knows, maybe it was one of the very last ones that were manufactured. The back looks pretty clean. It looks like there was maybe a bar here where it was mounted on a barricade or something like that. It's got some random extra holes in it. So that tells me they drilled through to mount it, and it wasn't mounted on a vertical post like normal. What's also cool about this sign is just the messaging, men working. And it wasn't until the 1980s, late 80s, early 90s, that they started converting these over to be not gender specific. So this predates that whole era, but it's still black on orange. I love this sign. This sign came out of the same basement as the detour sign. So I'm assuming somebody there worked in construction, ended up with some of these signs, and held on to them for years. All right, here is a detour sign. Pretty standard up to today's standards of detour signage. What I love about this one is when I was a kid, before I had a sign like this, before I had a lot of any of these signs, this is the type of construction sign that was represented in the Indiana driver's license manual. And they had a detour sign in there just like this. And that was probably the first time I ever saw one of these signs. So of course, I loved it, fell in love with it, got to be on my bucket list of signs that I wanted. So whenever I see one of these detour signs, I think of the Indiana driver's manual. Okay, I see some orange ones here in this section. Here is a worker's sign. This is a pretty modern day sign. New old stock, holes have not been punched through, very clean back. This replaced the typical men working sign where you'd see the words men working on the sign itself. All right, this one's pretty neat. A bridge clearance sign, but the construction version. So most of the black on yellow warning signs in the W series of the manual also have a black on orange counterpart just for construction zones. Really, the only signs that don't change over to black on orange are stop signs, yield signs, and regulatory signs. All warning signs do change over to black on orange. So this one's pretty neat just because I've always loved the design of this height clearance sign. It's pretty neat to have one in a construction version. And I don't think this one's ever been up on the wall before, so first time. Here's the wood high water sign I spoke of earlier. You can see it's all chipped, coming apart. This wood just doesn't really hold up in the elements and getting banged around and things like that. Not a construction sign, but just wanted to pull it out. It's about 1/2 inch thick. It's warped, but still pretty neat. Road construction, 500 feet. Here's another road construction sign, and I thought this one was interesting because normally you have, like this one, some type of messaging that falls underneath the word construction. Usually road construction signs are 3-line legends. This one is a 2-line legend, and it kind of just cuts off after construction, so it looks kind of bare down there to me. So a little unique when it comes to diamond-shaped warning road construction signage. Here's another new old stock lane control construction sign. Typically what this is a 2-lane highway where there's construction that they're working in the center of the 2 lanes. So they divide the 2 lanes and traffic has to merge around some kind of a closed section of the highway. This one is also new old stock. You could tell by the back, just kind of a unique sign. Okay, here's another diamond-shaped road closed sign. This one I think was probably made after 1971, and even though the black on orange specification for construction signs had been communicated by then, I think this was probably something that was just thrown together in the sign shop as needed, and they had a yellow back, and so they threw the black letters on top of it. The letters themselves are a little crooked in points, and you can see there's pencil marks to mark the baseline of the letters where they made this sign in-house. But still a neat sign, still love it, still a contender for the construction wall. Kind of dirty, I should probably clean it off. These are some really large signs that aren't going to be able to fit on the wall, but I do know I have some construction signs in here. Road construction ahead. Here's another road construction 2-line sign. And what's interesting about this one, this font is different. It's fatter. It doesn't appear to be highway Gothic. So interesting one there. Really can't put any of these up on the wall, but I'm kind of just interested to see what else I have. So right through here, we're going to get into some pretty large road closed signs. So here's one, road closed, local traffic only. And then, I hate that paint sticking. Here's one. It's about 1/8 of an inch thick. It's a really thick, just standard road closed sign. All these signs are collapsing on me here. And that's how large these signs really are. This is the standard size for a road closed sign. But, I may be able to put this up on the wall. It's going to be pretty tight. I'll pull this out, see what I could do with it. Right back here, and I have to hold all these signs up because they're collapsing on me from both directions, is an end construction sign with the flasher warning light still affixed to it. This is a pretty tall sign. It's about 5 feet. Well, it'll be 5 feet wide. Honeycomb reflective surface, probably from the 90s, mid-90s, early 90s, something like that. But again, a lot of these signs get tossed because the construction companies or the contractors where these signs come from, those signs get so beat up that they have to replace them more frequently. So if construction signs is something that you're looking for, make friends with somebody who works at one of these contractors, one of these construction companies that source out all the signs and barricades to the city. You may come up pretty well by doing that. Here's a plastic construction sign, sidewalk closed. This would go into the top of a construction cone. Down here, I've got some lighting on one of these lights, so maybe I could use these to dress up the side of the wall. The year is actually printed on here. It came from 1980. It's called a night flasher from Los Angeles, California. This sign here I just noticed has a marking down at the bottom. It says I.1190. So where I'm from, Indiana Department of Transportation is INDOT. I'm not sure what Illinois, Idaho, or Iowa is. I'm guessing maybe this sign came from Illinois. I can't even remember where I got this one from. It's been so long and so many signs ago that I just can't remember. Normally I can remember where I got all my signs, but certainly not INDOT or Indiana. But with that, I've got all these construction signs. And just like I said at the start of the video, I have more than what I thought I had. I really thought the construction wall was going to be sparse. And it looks like I have a lot of signs in various colors, various shapes, diamond shape, rectangular, big signs, small signs that are going to look pretty good up on the wall. So let's start building. Okay, there you have it, my first ever construction sign wall. I picked 16 signs out of my collection. Out of all the construction signs that I had, I was able to get 11 of them up on the wall. 5 of them are still reserved for future signs, couldn't fit them up there. The road closed sign that's up there is the biggest sign that I've ever had on the wall, and I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. Again, had way more construction signs than I realized that I had. Hey, if it's going to be construction season, may as well make the best of it. Thanks so much for watching my video. If you want to follow along, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Also follow me over on Facebook, over on Instagram, over on TikTok. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.